Is my 4 minutes starting?
Yes, it is, sir.
I'm here. I have found in my personal experience that the city of Harrisburg is not following their printed process on their form, on their tenant landlord complaint form. This is from my personal experience. My name is Jeff Glatt, and I live in zip code 17101 currently. Harrisburg City is not issuing citations or tickets for landlord noncompliance to city codes. The landlord evades fines and possible severe penalties. In the case of my single apartment, the amount evaded might be tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. The landlord gets off with a verbal warning and his promise to fix the deficiency. The tenant bears whatever risks result from noncompliance. I am one apartment in 360 apartment complex. If city processes were filed, the potential fine penalties to the landlord under the penalty clause could be anywhere from $18,000 to $385,000 for my apartment only. In such a large building, it is virtually impossible that only my apartment is in non-compliance to city codes. My apartment location was in Magisterial Court Jurisdiction MDJ 12-2-04, the Honorable Sonia McKnight. However, when I went to the court employees told me they were unaware of any role the court played in the city's landlord-tenant complaint process. The possible dollar amounts already cited can explode if other apartments in my building had similar code violations and similar history. The dollar amounts can be exploded again if other magisterial court jurisdictions in the city are unaware of the city's tenant-landlord complaint process. There is possibly a gaping hole in the city's efforts to hold landlords responsible for minimum standards. The landlord cited here is the same out-of-state owner who operated 4 elevators for 6 months in the building with posted but expired operating certificates. I have substantial documentation. I have shared this repeatedly with the city on many levels since November 2023. Response has been virtually non-existent. I affirmed my willingness to testify and support any effort by the city to bring a case to court. My name is Jeff Glatt. My details are below on the sheet, as well as my cell and text phone number. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment? Seeing and hearing no one. Anyone to my left? Seeing and hearing no one, we will move forward with our printed agenda. Next, we have the approval of minutes for the legislative session that occurred on August 27th, 2024. Council members, are there any revisions to those minutes? Seeing and hearing none, the minutes stand approved. We will now move to reports of committees. I will deliver the first report on behalf of the Administration Committee on the work session of September 3rd, 2024. On Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, the Administration Committee met to discuss 2 bills and 1 resolution. Bill 4 of 2024, an ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg, an application for the construction and reconstruction of the 17th Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of necessary rights of way. Joel Siders, city engineer, was present on behalf of the administration to answer questions council members had regarding the bill. Mr. Siders shared that the bill is a part of the I-83 widening project on and off ramps. PennDOT has flagged the bridge for replacement. Council members asked the following questions. What is the impact on the public? Where is the bridge located? And what is the application deadline? Mr. Siders responded that this is a standard bridge replacement. He also confirmed the location. The bill is to get the process started to begin right-of-way negotiations. Solicitor Grover shared that the City of Harrisburg owns the bridge, but the city does not have the capacity to replace the bridge on our own. Next, Bill 5 of 2024, an ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg an application for the construction and reconstruction of the McClay Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of any necessary rights of way. Joel Siders, city engineer, was present on behalf of the administration to answer questions council members had regarding this bill. Mr. Siders shared that the replacement of two PennDOT-owned bridges will occur on either side of the city. The project includes road construction. Council members asked the following questions. What is the application deadline? And who is the owner, the city or the state? The bill is also to get the process started to begin right-of-way negotiations. Mr. Grover confirmed that both the city and state are owners. Resolution 52 of 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with State Street Strategies, LLC, doing business as OnePlus Strategies for strategic guidance and intelligence gathering for lobbying-related services. Blake Lynch and Jake Corman were present to answer questions council members had regarding the professional services contract with State Street Strategies, LLC, or OnePlus Strategies. Mr. Lynch shared that OnePlus Strategies is a 16-month-old bipartisan lobbying firm. They currently have over 100 clients. There are 30 individuals employed by the firm. Council members asked the following questions, clarifying that Mr. Lynch will serve as the city liaison. What other municipalities does the firm represent? Why now? How many firms applied? Is it the same team from the RFP? Conflicts of interest, the biggest asset they bring to the City of Harrisburg, contract cap, the switch from Maverick to this firm, RFP timeline, and how long has it been since we've had a lobbyist. According to Mr. Lynch, 5 firms applied and 3 were interviewed. The firm does not represent any other municipalities. Mr. Lynch reviewed the duties and responsibilities. There are no known conflicts of interest. Mr. Lynch will rely on relationships as the biggest asset he brings to the City of Harrisburg. The contract cap is $60,000. Maverick was not under contract during this administration. The last time the City of Harrisburg had a lobbyist was in 2021. The contract expired in December of 2021. Council members requested additional information from the administration clarifying the timeline of the RFP process. Council members also expressed concerns that hiring a lobbying firm should not be a priority given the number of staff vacancies. As a result, Resolution 52 of 2024 was tabled and will remain in the Administration Committee. I recommend that my colleagues support both Bill 4 of 2024 and Bill 5 of 2024 to allow the City of Harrisburg an opportunity to begin negotiations. This concludes the Administration Committee report. The next report you will hear will be shared by Vice President Green on behalf of the Budget and Finance Committee on the work session of September 3rd, 2024.
Thank you, President Bowers. During the work session of September 3rd, 2024, the Budget and Finance Committee discussed Resolution 46 of 2024, which is a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to participate in the Dauphin County Bridge Bundle Program to replace the bridge known as HBG 19 and negotiate and enter into an intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement in furtherance of such. We had a presentation by the city engineer. During this presentation, it was explained that the state would pay, the federal government would pay 80%, the state would pay 15%, and the city and the county would split the remaining 5%, which comes out to the county paying 3% and the city paying 2%, with a 60-40 split. Essentially, the city would pay about $34,000 if the number stayed it's about the same, and construction would be about 1.5 to 2 years out before this project would start. We didn't have many questions from our colleagues except where is this bridge at Walnut and Jonestown Road. We came up with some sort of idea of where the bridge was located at that satisfied everyone. I would recommend that my colleagues support Resolution 46 of 2024. During September 3rd's work session, we also discussed Resolution 53 of 2024, which is a resolution approving the 5th proposed 2024 budget reallocation, confirming and otherwise clarifying the intended designation of revenue replacement funds under the American Rescue Plan Act as being attributed to public safety purposes under the general fund, and further confirming the award of certain available general fund program dollars for two local organizations to provide service for bridge housing. During this, we had a presentation by the budget manager, Mr. Brooks, as well as the accounting manager, Mr. McCutcheons, and they explained that we would be increasing the salary and overtime in the Fire Bureau, increasing the medical line, and increasing the settlement claims line, along with increasing the line for the Broad Street Market fire loss restoration. Majority of this money will be coming from unused salaries and wages throughout this portion of the fiscal year. It was explained that the rest of the funds for the salaries are allocated for the rest of the year, but these will be funds that haven't been used up until this point. We'd also be using EIT money that was over the expected revenue for this year, as well as unused capital project funds. There was also questions regarding the resolution for the bridge housing portion that was in the resolution, and we will have a presentation by Ms. Gloria Martin Roberts tonight to explain that further. She did also email us some information on those programs to allow us to know where the programs would be, where the funds, would be being spent with the two organizations. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Green. The next report you will hear will be shared by Chair Davis on behalf of the Building and Housing Committee on the work session of September 3rd, 2024.
Thank you, President Bowers. On Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, Resolution 47-2024, which is a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Civitas, LLC, for the purpose of providing professional services to the city's Department of Building, Housing, and Development, including, but not limited to, technical assistance and general consulting services for general technical assistance, consolidated plan development, analysis of fair housing, choice impediments, and environmental review for emergency demolition. Resolution 47-2024 was tabled due to the Building and Housing Development Director being unavailable, and Civitas LLC was not in attendance. questions were withheld until this meeting tonight, and that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Davis. The final committee report you will hear this evening will be shared by Chair Rawls on behalf of the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment Committee on the work session of September 3rd, 2024.
Thank you, President Bowers, and good evening, everyone here and as well online. On Tuesday, September 3rd, 2004, Director Baker was present to present information on Resolution 50 and 51 of 2024. Resolution 50 of 2024 is a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional service agreement with Murphy and Ditterheffer Architects to serve as the architect engineering firm for the restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of the Broad Street Market's red brick building. Director Baker gave more information on Resolution 50 by explaining the city's desire to restore, rehabilitate, and reconstruct the red brick building of the Broad Street Market in order to continue the long-standing tradition of the historic market. He further explained that the mayor administration desires to do so by hiring Murphy and Ditchenhaffer out of York, PA. Their job will be the drawing of architectural plans, which will aid in the restoration of the brick building of the Broad Street Market. A member of the firm gave more information by expressing and outlining the 28-person team that brings a wealth of experience and knowledge. Council members had questions such as why didn't they point out that they do have experience within our community? They were being humble, which is why they didn't say anything, but they have experience within our community. They also asked if Murphy and Diffenheifer plan on setting up opportunities where interested high school students of the Harrisburg School District can assist. The rep that was here explained that, yes, he hopes to create opportunities in which local high school students can participate in the restoration of the brick building of the Broad Street Market, and that, yes, they have participated in restoration projects within the city here in Harrisburg. I recommend that my fellow council members vote yes to Resolution 50 of 2024 because this architectural firm is coming with a wealth of experience with developing high-quality master plans and designs for building renovations. I am also recommending a yes vote to this resolution because an architectural design is of utmost importance so the brick building of the Broad Street Market can be brought back to life. The next resolution was Resolution 51 of 2024, which is a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional service agreement with Marsh Claims Solutions, forensic accounting and claims services to provide insurance claim accounting services to measure and document the revenue and property damage loss of the Broad Street Market's red brick building. Director Baker was present to give more information on this resolution. Director Baker and Solicitor Grover explained that after the horrible fire on July 10, 2023, the city received approximately $5 million from the insurance carrier, Liberty Mutual, as an advance payment on its claim of loss in the fire. Because of this loss, the administration believed it would be best to engage in the services of a forensic consulting professional experienced in fire insurance recoveries to better ensure the maximum recovery of insurance proceeds. Marsh Claims Solution would provide necessary expertise to repair a submission claims necessary to obtain maximum reimbursement for the city's loss from Liberty Mutual. Oops, sorry. Mr. Case, the representative, Mr. Case, provided more information by expressing his 30-year of experience with forensic auditing. A question asked was, how long would it take for you to get through the paperwork process, and what would a projected timeline be? Mr. Case expressed that the process could vary with any amount of time, and that he is dedicated to get through the paperwork and be here until the process is done. I recommend we vote yes on Resolution 51 of 2024, and that concludes the business of the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment.
Thank you, Chair Rawls. We do not have any ordinances for first reading. We do have two ordinances for amendment. Mr. Parker, could you please read Bill 4 of 2024 and Bill 5 of 2024 into the record?
Yes. Bill 4 of 2024. An ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg, an application for the construction/reconstruction of the 17th Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of necessary rights of way. Bill 5 of 2024, an ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg, an application for the construction/reconstruction of the McClay Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of any necessary rights of way.
Thank you. We have two ordinances for final passage, Bill 4 of 2024 and Bill 5 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read Bill 4 of 2024 into the record?
Yes, Bill 4 of 2024, an ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg, an application for the construction/reconstruction of the 17th Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of necessary rights of way.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Bill 4 of 2024? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yay.
Ms. Rawls.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Bill 4 of 2024 passes unanimously with a vote of 7 yeas to 0 nays.
Thank you. Next, we have Bill 5 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Bill 5 of 2024, an ordinance delegating authority to the Secretary of Transportation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, to file with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission as may be required for and on behalf of the City of Harrisburg, an application for the construction/reconstruction of the McClay Street Bridge crossing over railroad property and for the appropriation of any necessary rights of way.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Bill 5 of 2024? Okay, seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yay.
Ms. Rawls.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Bill 5 of 2024 also passes unanimously with a vote of 7 yeas to 0 nays.
Thank you. We will now move to resolutions. The first resolution for consideration this evening is Resolution 46 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 46 of 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to participate in the Dauphin County Bridge Bundling Program to replace the bridge known as HG HBG/19 and negotiate and enter into an intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement in furtherance of such.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 46 of 2024? Okay, seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yay.
Ms. Rawls.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Resolution 46 of 2024 passes unanimously with a vote of 7 yeas to 0 nays.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 47 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 47 of 2024. A resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to participate and enter into a professional services agreement with Civitas LLC for the purpose of providing professional services to the city's Department of Building, Housing, and Development, including but not limited to technical assistance and general consulting services for general technical assistance, consolidated plan development, analysis of fair housing choice impediments, and environmental review for emergency demolition.
Thank you. Council members, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules for discussion.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I will defer to our Building and Housing Committee Chair, Chair Davis, to lead the discussion.
Thank you, President Bowers. Is there someone present from Civitas this evening?
He just joined. He's joining now the Zoom meeting.
Okay, could you please state your name and your position with this company? With Civitas?
My name is Spencer Christian. I'm the Director of Operations for Civitas.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Christian. Nice seeing you, and thank you for being here with us this evening. Can you give us a little bit of background information about what you're hoping to, the services you're hoping to provide, if there's anything additional? I know you've been working with the city for many years, and this contract is a renewal contract. But is there anything you want to tell the council this evening before we open it up for questions?
I'll just give a brief summary of what we offer and what we've been offering the city. So as you know, the city receives various HUD, CDBG, home, and ESG funds, and we are a technical assistance provider for HUD. So we provide a range of services from home underwriting to action plan development to the full con plan development, as well as environmental reviews for a variety of projects that require that level from HUD and the federal government. And we also help with the bulk of reporting back to HUD through the various systems. So we offer these range of services for the last several years. We continue to also offer some training as a means to both supplement the staff and eventually sort of let them work on these things on their own, and maybe we're called in for high-level projects. Over the last year, we've done, over the last 12 months, we had a couple of bigger projects, which was the 5-year consolidated plan, as well as the fair housing assessment. And we continue to offer these yearly plans that are smaller than that, the annual action plans as well. And finally, we helped out with the grant writing for the lead hazard reduction grant with both research and development for submitting that application. We anticipate a pretty similar line of technical assistance for the CDBG program, for the home program, as well as for the ESG on an as-needed basis.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. And I do appreciate the fact that you facilitated the annual action plan workshop application as well. I do have one question. Oh, by the way, thank you for your service to our country. I was reading through the contract and I saw that you served. Okay, so the analysis of fair housing choice, the impediments analysis, can you give me an idea, not of the impediment analysis, but of the emergency demolition? What do you look for in the environment prior to demolition?
Okay, so I am not the subject matter expert for the environmental reviews, but I will give you the best answer I can, and if we need to follow up afterwards, happy to do that. But regardless of what's going to be done, when there is a federal funding going towards these programs, an environmental assessment is necessary. Now, for these types of demolition projects, it really does depend on the anticipated use after the demolition has taken place. So it might be a simple assessment that's done and reported back to HUD that there's no impact on the environment, but pending what will take place after that will certainly drive the degree of the assessment that needs to be done.
Okay, I was thinking that the environmental assessment could be the demolition in the neighborhood, the effect that it would have on the environment or, the community. I wasn't sure as I was going through. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Depending on the level of demolition, especially when you're thinking of underground, if there's some water pipes, sewage line, things like that, then that would likely trigger the need to do sort of a full assessment of the impact around that area. I apologize for that. I was sort of leaning towards the use afterwards as to what might substantiate a further investigation of that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Also, the impediments analysis, I really appreciate the bulleted items that you have listed here. Do you typically give a report to the housing department with each project in terms of like impediments to fair housing choice or the zoning and land use policies that constrain housing diversity, like diversity problems, issues, growing poverty rate? I mean, what reports do you give back to the housing department?
Okay. Yeah, so this is really in line with the federal government's requirement to affirmatively further fair housing. And the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice is one current method that is accepted by HUD in order to meet the intent of that. Now, a very quick side comment, there is talk within HUD of updating that rule and exactly what that report may look like, but we have yet to receive a final word on that. So typically we conduct the AI, which is the Fair Housing Assessment Report. The short name is Analysis of Impediments. We generally conduct that in line with the 5-year con plan, typically at the same time or slightly before the con plan, so that any of the findings could also be included in some of the goals for the con plan 5-year strategic plan. So the final report is submitted to the city, and generally with strategic recommendations that are either some policy recommendations, maybe even affecting some of the zoning requirements or or trying to find ways to improve and streamline the housing permits, as well as general education for fair housing, landlord outreach, tenant support. So these things are generally included in a final report that is submitted to the city. Now from there, there is no current requirement for the city to submit that final report to HUD. That may change in the future where HUD may make it a requirement. And at times, HUD reps will request a copy of the analysis of impediments, or at least an email verifying when the last one was done. So we typically sort of let that part of the process go on between the city and HUD, but we do turn in a sort of a final copy to the city, and I believe that was done. I'd have to look at the exact dates, but it was last year when we completed that report.
Thank you very much for answering that. And finally, for the community, can you explain what the CON plan is briefly, please?
Yes, so the city participates in the federal government's program to promote healthy and vibrant communities through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, via a variety of block grants. So these grants come in different forms with sort of different goals and different requirements. The most common is the Community Development Block Grant, which we call CDBG for short. That has a range of eligible uses to include community development, to include public services. When you think of a lot of the nonprofits that are out there supporting low-income households with housing counseling or even food banks. It can also support a variety of housing maintenance, rehabilitation, down payment assistance. The other program is HOME, which is it kind of sounds like it's really targeted towards the housing for the city. So it's got less eligible uses than, say, the CDBG fund does, but it goes towards assisting households and people with lower income with all things housing, to include tenant-based rental assistance, down payment assistance, security assistance, things like that. And also ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant, is targeted towards helping people that are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and that can include a variety of shelter operations, outreach campaigns. And the other, the fourth one is HOPWA, which is it's a housing grant for people with AIDS that was set up a number of years ago, that can also help out with a much more limited scope on the target households there. So that's a quick description of the various grants that are out there. So HUD requires every 5 years a city reevaluate its needs, and that's across the board of housing as well as community development needs, assess the program and the things that are in place, whether that's nonprofit agencies, whether that's the city itself, to address those needs, find the gaps, and create what's called a strategic plan to help address those gaps and address those needs. That strategic plan is the bulk of the CON plan that will sort of tee up how the city operates for the next 5-year cycle. And then every year there's an annual action plan where the specific amounts of each allocation or each grant funding line is described and what type of activity it will serve. And that can change every year, but it must be in line with the 5-year goals that were laid out in the CON plan, strategic plan. So this is done every 5 years, but the action plan component is done every year on a repeated basis. And the general amount of funding doesn't change too much. It's certainly dependent on Congress and their approved budget. But we typically see about the same amount every year with a slight increase, although last year, or this current year, home went down slightly for most jurisdictions, mostly because of a one-time Home American Rescue Plan funding line that was promoted and given out to the various cities. Does that answer your question for the consolidated plan?
Yes, thank you very much. And is Director Gloria Martin Roberts there also?
I'm here.
Hi, thank you for being here also.
You're
I just
welcome.
have one final question for either of you. The final reports between the city and HUD, how can someone receive one of those reports or get one of those reports?
They can contact our department. That's public information. So that should be accessible to anybody that wants to have a copy.
Thank you very much. And I will
do
open
need to
the
clarify
floor
one
to
thing
for
for
my
council.
colleagues at this time. If anyone has any questions, I'll start with Councilman Jones.
Councilwoman, before you open the floor for questions, Chair Davis, Interim Director Martin Roberts wanted to clarify something else.
You mentioned that this is a new contract for Civitas. It is not. It's actually, we're extending the contract. We were using CDBG 2022 funds to cover that contract. We exhausted those funds, and so now we're going to be using 2023 funds. So that's why we had to bring it back to you for an extension. Their contract officially ends December 31st, 2024. We will be bringing back to you a new contract for them that would begin January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Thank you for clarifying that, Director, because the proposal date here in this contract said August 26th of 2023, which was a little confusing.
I
thank you
understand.
very much.
The law
for
bureau is
clarifying.
going to change that date.
I'm sorry, what was it?
The law bureau will change that date.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Baldock is on the line as well. She's the one who's been handling the Civitas contracts and the DBHD contracts for Ms. Roberts. If there's questions for her.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I can open the floor for questions from my colleagues for Mr. Christensen or Christian, excuse me, or Director Roberts. Councilwoman Jones, any questions?
Thank you, Councilwoman Davis. No questions.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez.
No questions for me, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ross.
Good evening to you both. Thank you for being here. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, President Bowers.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Vice President Green, any questions?
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
Yes. When did the checks for the organizations for the 2022 allocations go out? Or the 2023 allocations, when did those checks go out?
Are you talking about the subrecipients?
Yeah.
Are you talking about 2022 or 2023?
The 2022 money, but we made the allocations in 2023.
We have actually put all of the contracts out. I think 2 are pending. That not their checks, their contracts. Those contracts were held up. Okay. And so when I came on board, I got those contracts on my desk, and we have processed those contracts. So everyone has received their contracts with about 2 subrecipients, and they will probably have theirs by the end of next week.
So can you, I guess,
that's
say that in yes, say that to me in absolute numbers. So how many contracts?
All of them have gone out.
So 9 went out?
Yes,
okay.
All the subrecipients, with the exception, I think we have 2 more to process. And what I mean by process, they have to come in and sign their contracts.
So 11 altogether?
That is not all the subrecipients approved by council. That's the ones that got past the conflict
Those are the
review.
ones that passed through, yes.
And how many are left not having passed through?
Yeah, I have to get back to
There,
you.
there were 6 that were held
There were
for
9.
permanently, and then there was a group in the middle, which I believe they worked through all of them.
4 that we had to sit and get clarification, but we've done that.
Right.
And they're okay. Theirs will be processed also. And then we had some that there was a conflict of interest.
Okay, so I guess this has been an issue for the last, where are we now? It's more than a year,
They were
17
held up
months?
for 17 months.
17 months.
Yes.
And Civitas was the
And that was
entity.
17 months before I got here.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And Civitas was was the service provider during that period.
Civitas is
Civitas.
not the service provider.
I shouldn't say the
Civitas
service providers,
provides
but
us with consultation.
right.
In terms of making sure that we are in alignment with HUD rules and regulations.
Okay,
That's
so
all the Civitas does.
So I can't read the name from here, and I'm bad with names, but could the person from Civitas explain like why there was a 17-month delay?
They don't have anything to do with that. That has everything to do with us here at the city. Civitas consults with us, makes sure that anything that we want to put into practice falls in line with HUD rules and regulations. After that, it is our responsibility to formulate whatever documents are necessary. They will review those documents, again, just to make sure that we're in line with, again, the regulations. Then it falls on us. It falls on the Law Bureau and the Department of Building and Housing to make sure that the contracts are put in place, they're written according to rules and regulations of not only the municipality, but the state. And it falls on state staff after that.
Okay, so can someone explain publicly what happened, what caused the 17-month delay? It is really difficult to tell a bunch of subgrantees that we're going to renew a contract with this entity who's supposed to keep us in line, but then for some reason we held them up for 17 months.
In the course of finalizing the contracts, which I cannot speak to why contracts took as long as they did, coming out of different desks, I will say. But when they came to us, they were not finalized. Our office then gathered both the contracts and the backup materials, which we normally do not see. The backup materials revealed that there were conflicts that had not been addressed at all, and that those conflicts would, under state and federal law, prohibit the city from entering into those contracts. And that is not, I think, have to do with subrecipients. That has to do with simply there are certain conflicts that cannot, under Pennsylvania law, be overcome. There's no waiver provision in the Pennsylvania law for them. And part of to satisfy a HUD waiver, and this city's never really done the HUD waivers, and it needs to, is to, before you vote, before any of those things happen, you advertise the potential waiver. You then get a certification as a legal opinion that if the waiver is granted by HUD, it will not violate state or local laws. Those opinions are ungettable because Pennsylvania doesn't have waivers for certain ones. Pennsylvania is a much narrower group of people that have unwaivable conflicts. And HUD's is much broader, but they're waivable as long as they're waivable at state or local levels. So it was found on the other side of this after it was presented to council, after the documents were there, simply because there was delay in processing contracts, that those conflicts had never been worked through by staff. That's simply the reality of it. And we've done training, we've done all kinds of things. We've brought Civitas in for additional training with staff. We have provided training for staff. We had previously tried training with outside counsel and in-house counsel. And we believe we now have drafts trained on the conflict analysis that has to be done. but they simply were not addressed. And my name and my law license isn't going on to a contract that knowingly has a violation of the State Ethics Act in it, and that's what these would have had. And that's not the fault of the recipients. It was a processing problem. We believe we have fixed the processing problem.
Right, but when the ordinance came down to us, right, part of our discussion here when we're looking at the subrecipients and all of that is fundamentally their eligibility for it, whether they're qualified or not. And that, that didn't happen. So I guess what I'm not understanding is why the 17-month delay, right? If theoretically Law Bureau did the initial job of vetting.
We don't do the initial job of vetting. We do not do that. We get a proposed budget ordinance after DBHD does their processing, like the 28 or whatever they're about to have for the next round. We are not involved at that stage.
Well, my understanding was the reason
provide
we
the forms. We help with forms to say, this is what the law says. Here they are. Implement it, just like every other bureau has to implement their things. That's what happened. Okay. We got pulled in by happenstance because there was a delay coming out of the bureau in processing what we consider fill-in-the-blank contracts. And that's what happened. And so that got us deep into the dive of what the backup documents were, because things weren't making sense to us.
Yeah, but the reason the bill was late came down in 2023 was because it was late from 2022, because theoretically Law Bureau was the one that held it up to begin with, and that's why it took so long.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the one who signed off on that. No, when the bills came down,
So in February 2023 would not have been any significant late issue. Remember, there's a transition in administrations.
Right.
These relate to the October budget that was passed by Congress, and these contracts come out of that money. So it's October 1, 2022. February, the contracts came down to you. The prior process, which changed twice, I believe, in the prior administration, was that list and that budget of individuals came down before you voted in the summer, so that the contracts were concurrent with the awards in October. That process changed in COVID, and by not just by us, but by HUD, who later and later provided the dates of the estimated monies that you would get. So what we used to get in like December of almost a year ahead of time of a notice from HUD got pushed first to February, then to May under the Trump administration, and kept getting pushed back further under COVID. And that cycle just changed. So there's a long administrative history that basically changed the timetable. I don't know if HUD will have it changed back at some point, but it just changed the cycle. But so the contracts they were doing were for money available October 1, 2022, under a budget Congress passed. I can't remember whether that was passed on time or not, but that's what the money comes from. Those contracts dealt from that. So there's no long delay of those coming to you. We bring a budget down at that point, not something else, a budget. That's what we bring.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman Daniels. Are there any other questions, council members? Okay, thank you, Mr. Christian, for being here this evening. Thank you, Director Roberts.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you also, and I don't have any further questions. Thank you. I would recommend this resolution be revisited at our next legislative meeting.
Okay, thank you.
At this legislative meeting, Councilman?
Correct.
Yes.
It's this one.
May I say something, please?
Yes.
Listen, we're already behind in our payment to Civitas because we had to go through this extension. Now, they can certainly say to us, we're no longer going to provide you with the service. Let me just say this. We're not at a time in our process of having received applications for the next cycle. we are scheduled next week to start reviewing those applications. Civitas, 2 of their personnel will be involved in the review, along with our staff. If I don't get this passed so that they can be paid and they know they're going to be paid, they can very easily say, we're not going to provide services until, so I thought we were going to vote on this tonight.
Oh, we are.
We are voting on it this
I thought
evening.
she said, let's vote on it.
She did, but she misspoke. It's still on our
Okay,
agenda.
I only hear what I hear.
There's no further discussion.
All right.
So I will entertain a motion to resume our legislative session.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So before us, for consideration this evening, we have Resolution 47 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it one more time?
Yes. I'm sorry, the resolution. I'm ready to take the vote and get this thing done.
I know, but for
Resolution 47 of 2024, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Civitas, LLC, for the purpose of providing professional services to the city's Department of Building, Housing, and Development, including but not limited to technical assistance and general consulting services for general technical assistance, consolidated plan development, analysis of fair housing, choice impediments, and environmental review for emergency demolition.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 47 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
My code of conduct prevents me from participating in this, so I'll say no.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yay.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Resolution 47 of 2024 passes with a vote of 6 yeas to 1 nay.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 50 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Yes, Resolution 50 of 2024. A resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects to serve as the architect/engineering firm for the restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of the Broad Street Market's red brick building.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 50 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yay.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Resolution 50 of 2024 passes unanimously with a vote of 7 yeas to 0 nays.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 51 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Yes, Resolution 51 of 2024. A resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Marsh Claims Solutions Forensic Accounting and Claims Services to provide insurance claim accounting services to measure and document the revenue and property damage loss of the Broad Street Market's red brick building.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 51 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yay.
Ms. Rawls.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Resolution 51 of 2024 passes unanimously with a vote of 7 yeas to 0 nays.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 53 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 53 of 2024, a resolution approving the fifth proposed 2024 budget reallocation, confirming and otherwise clarifying the intended designation of revenue replacement funds under the American Rescue Plan Act as being attributed to public safety purposes under the general fund, and further confirming the award of certain available general fund program dollars to two local organizations to provide services for bridge housing.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules for discussion of the second portion of the resolution caption related to the general fund program dollars, referring to the awarding of general fund program dollars to two local organizations. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I will defer to our our Budget and Finance Committee Chair to lead this discussion.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's fine. Good evening, Ms. Martin Roberts. I guess most of our questions regarding this just kind of came about when we were trying to figure out how do we get to these two organizations for the bridge housing program. I know when the previous director was here, we had discussed having different meetings about the application process, about things coming back before council. And so just to see the awards made, it kind of just struck us, and we wanted to know some more information about how we got here and what the programs would entail.
They're good questions. I know that both these organizations are the two most significant organizations providing services to the homeless population. They literally provide A to Z. Referral into other services if they have mental health problems, meals for those who are not quite homeless but could be, rental assistance, medical care, and I can go on and on. Both of these organizations have also been operating and providing these services for many years. So they have a stellar background in terms of providing services to the homeless population. They also have the capacity to expand services and get people off the street now. So they're not out in the winter weather or the hot weather and so forth, but so that they can sleep indoors, have warm meals and so forth. There are a lot of organizations, as you know, that care and help and so forth, but they don't necessarily have the capacity. These organizations have the capacity to expand their services to bring the homeless population indoors all year. And so they were chosen based on the fact that they had the capacity to do that. When I came on board, there was nothing. Nothing started in terms of putting out an RFP or anything to get organizations that could provide, at least starting with the fall and winter months, to house the homeless population. So we had to look at the organizations that we know that have the capacity to do it and the reputation.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. The first is, did the city reach out to these organizations, or was there something put out so that organizations could reach out to the city? Or was it just kind of like, well, we've worked with them in the past and so we're reaching out to them?
The city maintains a relationship with an organization called CASH. And that organization represents all of the entities that serve the homeless population. We are a member of that organization as well. And so the city is constantly in communications with the organizations in the city that provide services to the homeless population. These two organizations participate as well.
Yes. I know there are more organizations than these two in Catch. And so my question just kind of was, did we reach out to these organizations specifically, Or did we reach out to Catch and say, hey, this is the opportunity we have? Is there anyone that wants to reach out to us about it?
As far as I know, I can't answer the question whether other organizations were contacted. All I know is when I came on board, these were the two organizations that had been recommended to provide expanded services because they had the capacity to provide expanded services. Cash Membership knows that these two organizations have been asked to provide these services, and I'm certain that if the membership there had a problem with it, we would have heard about it.
Okay, so when you came on, the recommendation for these two had already occurred. So you don't know the actual process. That was before you came.
As far as I know, and as far as any documentation in my office, I have seen nothing in terms of that.
Okay.
Excuse me. Can I add something?
Yes, if you could just introduce yourself for the public.
Sure. Deborah Robinson.
Can you please speak into the microphone? Thank
Can you
you.
hear me now? Is it okay?
No, I can't hear you. I think it's on. I think you may need to just
Okay.
move it closer. Thank
That's
you.
better. Deborah Robinson, Special Assistant to the Mayor. Good evening, President Bowers, Vice President Green, and other council members. Prior to Ms. Roberts coming on board, we met with Dauphin County and Catch. We invited many people. We had a Microsoft Teams meeting to talk about what we can do for the homeless. And so one of the things they, Downtown Daily Bread and churches, Christian Churches United, they attended the Microsoft Teams meeting along with the city's administration and Dauphin County, and we talked about this possibly being an early winter, and they wanted to start taking people in October. But they needed the funding in order to make this happen. They did have the room and the capacity, but not the funding. And that's how we came up with granting them, this money.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions I had regarding this. I will just kind of read over what Ms. Martin Roberts did send to us, just for the public's edification. It says that Bridge Housing, $1 million, two well-established nonprofit organizations that have been serving the homeless population and high-risk populations for homelessness have been selected to provide expanded services. Downtown Daily Bread will receive $500,000 to provide a year-round emergency overnight shelter for up to 50 individuals, in addition to provide overnight accommodations and support services for said individuals. The shelter will operate from October 2024 until December 2026, offering a safe place to sleep, meals, and access to essential services. This initiative aims to address the immediate needs of the homeless population and help them transition to more stable living conditions. Christian Churches United has longevity in the Harrisburg city community for many years, serving low-income, homeless, and other underserved living in the city of Harrisburg. For their past performance and stellar reputation for serving the least of us, they were selected as the second nonprofit to receive $500,000 and will partner with Grace United Methodist Church at 216 State Street, Harrisburg, to run an overnight shelter for up to 25 women and non-binary individuals, with the potential to shelter up to 5 additional persons on a short-term emergency basis. The shelter will open from 7:30 p.m. till 7 a.m. each night starting November 1st, 2024. CCU will hire a program manager to run the shelter, 2 full-time overnight shelter monitors, a part-time case manager / intake assistant, and 4 to 6 part-time shelter assistants to assure adequate supervision at the shelter. Case management will be offered to shelter guests. both through the shelter staff as well as CCU's unsheltered service team. Guests will be provided with cots to sleep on, blankets, snacks, and basic hygiene products. So just in case anyone hadn't saw that, and also for the public's edification. I'm going to see if any of my colleagues have any questions or comments. I'm going to start to my right this time with Councilwoman Daniels.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis, any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you, Vice President Green.
Thank you. President Bowers, any questions or comments?
No, thank you. Many of my questions were asked and answered.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions or comments?
Thank you. Most of my questions were asked and answered. It was just one clarification. I know that in the email it also mentioned that the Hines Senior Citizens, sorry, I cannot.
Hines Seniors.
Yes, I couldn't get that out today, sorry. They were given the $250,000. That was part of the ARPA money as well, too. Was part of like I believe we spoke about a program.
They have not been given the money yet, but
Okay.
it's in the works that they received $250,000 to rehab the facility, which has not been rehabbed since Senator Hines cut the ribbon for
Okay.
that center.
If I may interject, we will discuss
Okay.
all of the other programs and allocations or pending allocations next week during our work session. That way we can have
Sorry.
a fuller dialogue.
Yeah, no, okay, sorry. Thank you very much.
That's
That was it then. I'll get that clarified more next time.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions or comments?
Did they, thank you, Madam Chair, did they have to put in any specific outline of the exact expenditures or like how specifically they'll spend it?
Yeah, they will.
And is that
Yes.
something you'll be able to share
They
with
will have
council?
to, they have to bill for whatever expenditures they have for the service.
Is it a reimbursable amount of money? Okay, so they'll submit to the city will, okay, thank
And
you.
it will be broken out in their budget.
Okay, thank you.
There'll be a contract with each. Essentially what tonight does would be, if it's approved, would authorize those contracts. And such types of contracts don't exist in the city, right?
Right.
We're bringing them back from scratch here.
And then the contracts would come back to
No,
us?
the contracts would not come back to you.
No.
Okay.
That would not, because it is an October 1 date.
To start.
Right, but you would get the contracts. If they come back to you in a sense of, this is how the money is being spent.
The only reason why I ask is because I realized that world and how things can go really fast. I just want to make sure that it is going to those that really need it the most. That was all. Yeah, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Councilman Jones?
Yes, Vice President Green. I got some of the same questions because I'm very familiar with both of those organizations, especially CCU. And it seems like all the time, you know, we have a housing issue in our city. And you stated yourself that, and I know this happened prior to you, however, you stated yourself that there are other organizations. I would love to see something like this. That's a large amount of money. And I know that DDB has just received a large amount of money. The same people keep seeming to get these funds. And I know about CCU. Did someone replace their director? Because I know he just left. Mr. Darrow?
I don't think he's gone yet. I think he just announced when he's going to be leaving. I think that's going to be at the end of the year, from what I received.
Okay. Yeah, but I would just love to see some of these things spread around because there are a plethora of organizations. If everybody does a little, no one person or no two entities have to do a lot. So I think if we can sprinkle some of this money around, I think those services can be, and I know what you're talking about too, about that meeting on the Zoom. There was a lot of people that were there. And what we get in our city is people start to feel slighted because the same individuals repeatedly keep getting the money. I'm watching a lot of these organizations be awarded with a lot of money. And then yet we still have these issues in these cold months. We're full, and nobody else has nowhere to go. And they can't use these other organizations because they don't have the funding to support these individuals. So I would just love to see some of that spread around. I know, again, you weren't included in the selecting process, but this is something just to take note of.
And I just want to also remind you, it's not just a matter of getting money. It's whether or not these organizations have the capacity to serve and provide the services needed by this homeless population.
And I understand that, again, if the money is put into one pot, they can't provide. I don't care how much capacity they have. If they don't, if they're the only ones, then what about the other people that are providing the services? If they don't have anything to offer people, because all of the money's here, and how many beds can DDB hold? How many beds can CCU hold?
Yeah, 20, actually 30. They can actually add 30 additional beds. 30.
What is their capacity now?
I don't know that now. I'll have to look that up. I don't have that. But if you're talking about some other organizations, once again, I'm going to repeat, I've been in this field for a long time. They still have to have the capacity, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if we give them a few $1,000s and they don't have a location to be able to house people, it's still a problem. I mean, they know the need is there. So if they want to be a part of housing homeless persons, then they have to have a facility or someplace to put them. And so, I mean, I agree with you. It would be great if we could have a lot more, organizations being able to place people overnight for an entire year and be able to feed them and everything, but location, finding a facility to house people has been very, very difficult.
So let me be a little bit more clear then. So a lot of these organizations, they may have facilities to house these individuals, correct? Now, what about the ones that can't get into the facilities and they're out on the street, that these smaller organizations provide blankets, coats, and food to help these individuals? That's what I'm talking about. But if you put in the money all here, these other, it's just tough, because I've been out there as well. Maybe not as much as you have, but I've been working with these populations as well, and it's a very tough struggle for a lot of these organizations because they can't find the funding. For one, the city really isn't on the hook for that. That's a county thing. That's who usually takes care of that. So I do appreciate the gesture of being able to do something like that. But I'm just saying, again, let's just think about spreading some of this around. That's all. You got something?
Yeah, only that if you remember, it was council that proposed adding bridge housing to the expenditures. And the reality is, frankly, it was a gesture by the county and by the mayor's office, because $1 million in reality for the number of homeless is adding real money, but it does not solve the problem, right? So, and bridge housing is a very expensive portion of doing it. It wasn't supplies. It's a bridge housing program that was sort of just generally talked about.
Again, I'm just saying, you have smaller organizations. You have
I understand.
America for Sure. They give people showers. They give them clothing, and everybody's looking for funding. And I'm just saying, that's all.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding this? Seeing none, thank you for being here tonight. I guess we could go back into session.
I'll entertain a motion to resume our legislative session.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So before us, we have Resolution 53 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 53 of 2024. A resolution approving the fifth proposed 2024 budget reallocation, confirming and otherwise clarifying the intended designation of revenue replacement funds under the American Rescue Plan Act as being attributed to public safety purposes under the general fund, and further confirming the award of certain available general fund program dollars to 2 local organizations to provide services for bridge housing.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 53 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Parker, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels.
No.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yay.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Resolution 53 of 2024 passes with a vote of 6 yeas to 1 nay.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 54 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 54 of 2024, a resolution ratifying the professional services agreement with Stahl Schaefer Engineering to provide certain engineering services for improvements and facility upgrades to the city-owned stadium presently known as FNB Field.
Thank you. Resolution 54 of 2024 will move to the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment Committee. Next, we have Resolution 55 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 55 of 2024, a resolution of the Council of the City of Harrisburg authorizing and appointing Joel Siders, city engineer, as the City of Harrisburg's designee to execute any forms, documents, contracts, and reimbursement agreements in the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's Electronic Engineering and Construction Management System and Reimbursement Agreement System.
Thank you. Resolution 55 of 2024 will move to the Public Works Committee. Next, we have Resolution 56 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 56 of 2024, a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan submitted by Midtown Redevelopment, LLC, to consolidate and subdivide various vacant parcels into multiple project sites to develop single-family and multifamily dwellings, commercial space, and accessory parking along with associated improvements in the area bounded by Rowley Street, Fulton Street, Sayford Street, and James Street.
Thank you. Resolution 56 of 2024 will move to the Community and Economic Development Committee. Next, we have Resolution 57 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 57 of 2024, a resolution approving the preliminary/final subdivision plan for 1529 South 13th Street, submitted by Jeannie and Jim Spagnolo, to separate the existing parcel into 3 individual lots for each of the 3 residences on site.
Thank you. Resolution 57 of 2024 will move to the Community and Economic Development Committee. The final resolution for consideration this evening is Resolution 58 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 58 of 2024, a resolution ratifying the City of Harrisburg's acceptance of a federal financial assistance award of $2 million under the Inflation Reduction Act made by the United States Department of Agriculture through the U.S. Forest Service for the Harrisburg Tree Vestment Project.
Thank you. Resolution 58 of 2024 will move to the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment Committee. Is there any old business, council members? Seeing and hearing none. New business, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to send a reminder to the residents and business owners in the city that this Saturday, the 14th, will be the final day for this season of Hotspot Saturdays. We'll be in the Italian Lake area cleaning up, so please feel free to reach out at rrodriguez@harrisburgpa.gov. The last 2 were phenomenal. We had the Cougars wrestlers out and a few other students from other districts, so come on out and play your part as we reach 100 tons of waste. We were at 70 tons when we began, so hopefully we reach that capacity. So thank you, everybody on council, and I look forward to seeing everyone Saturday.
Thank you. Any other new business? I have 2 notes and 1 comment. So this week, Monday, September 9th, 2024 through Friday, September 13th, 2024 is the first week of Harrisburg Restaurant Week, hosted annually by the Harrisburg Downtown Improvement District. There are 10 restaurants participating with special curated menus specifically for Restaurant Week. To learn more information about Harrisburg Restaurant Week, please check out their website at www.harrisburgrestaurantweek.com. The 14th Annual Hispanic Heritage Festival, hosted by the Latino Hispanic American Community Center, will be held on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. between 13th and 15th and Dairy Streets. The festival includes a flag parade, domino tournament, Spanish food, children's games, giveaways, cultural displays, and a community art activity. I just had one comment before we adjourn. I wanted to note that I was disappointed to read that the mayor found the 7 questions we asked to be petty concerns. We have major concerns with the staff vacancies that were shared during our last legislative session. The mayor mentioned that her office is an open door, but it's really more like a revolving door. In the mayor's office alone, the business administrator role has been vacant since June 7, 2024. The communications director role will be vacant as of next week. There is no finance director, no director of community relations and engagement, nor is there a sustainability coordinator. These roles were all vacated over the last month. It's really ironic that the current mayor is repeating behavior she once complained about as she sat in this very seat as the president of Harrisburg City Council. The mayor is always quick to proclaim, "She's the mayor, she's the mayor." Yes, mayor, you have become a jack of all trades and a master of none. The time is 8:11 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
There's a second.
There's a second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.
That was 3.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate you. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.